At family dinner, Dad asked if my allowance was enough. I said, "What allowance?" and he went pale. That's when the truth dropped. Mom had been stealing the $2,000 he sent me every month and giving it to my golden child sister for Paris shopping sprees while I worked myself into exhaustion. I'm 19, and 4 months ago, I left our comfortable home in Dallas to chase a dream in New York City. Inspired by my father, a renowned surgeon, I'd worked my fingers to the bone to get into medical school. But the dream had quickly curdled into a relentless, exhausting nightmare. Sitting at that table, the scent of roasted chicken and herbs, a meal that felt like a king's feast after my diet of instant noodles and discounted prepackaged meals, I felt the world tilt on its axis. My father, his surgeon's hands stilling beside his plate, stared at my mother, his face a chilling, bloodless white. "What do you mean, you haven't been getting any money?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. I swallowed, my throat tight. "I haven't. Not a single dollar for the past 4 months." His eyes, usually so calm and clinical, were wide with a confusion that was rapidly morphing into something darker. "I had your mother transfer $2,000 into your account every month. Since the day you left." The silence that followed was heavier, more profound than any noise. I watched my mother, Paisley, who had always been the elegant, unflappable center of our home. She wouldn't meet our gazes. Her eyes were fixed on her lap, her napkin clutched in a white-knuckled grip. "Mom," I prompted, my voice barely a whisper. "You told me the finances were tight. You said paying my tuition was a stretch, and there was nothing left for my living expenses." My dad's fist came down on the table, not with a bang, but with a solid, definitive thud that made the glasses tremble. "Paisley, look at me. Have you been sending Logan his allowance?" When she finally looked up, her eyes were glistening with unshed tears, but there was a defiant set to her jaw. "No," she admitted, the words soft but clear in the tense room. "I haven't." The admission hung in the air, ugly and undeniable. "Why?" The word was ripped from my father. "For God's sake, why not?" There are just too many expenses, Robert," she began, her voice regaining a sliver of its usual composure. "Our mortgage is paid off. The cars are paid for." "What expenses?" he shot back, his voice rising. Seeing the lie crumbling around her, she shifted tactics. Her chin lifted. "I've been keeping the money for Olivia. She needs it more than you do, Logan." I felt the words like a physical blow, each one a confirmation of a lifetime of subtle slights. Olivia, my 21-year-old sister, the golden child, studying fashion design in Paris. Her life, as chronicled on her Instagram, was a glittering carousel of chic cafes, fashion shows, and weekend trips to Monaco, each photo a testament to a luxury I couldn't fathom. "She needs it more?" I repeated, the bitterness I'd tried so hard to suppress finally seeping into my voice. "I asked you for help, Mom. I begged you for just a little, even for bus fare or a decent meal, and you said no. You were sending her $3,000 a month while I was working myself into the ground." Her head snapped toward me. "How do you know how much I send her?" There was a call. My dad interjected, his voice tight. "From Logan's work." He collapsed, Paisley. "From exhaustion and malnutrition. And when I saw him today, look at him. He's skin and bone." The color drained from my mom's face. "You collapsed?" I nodded, the memory of that night at the bar still a fresh wound. The dizzying spin of the room, the sudden, impossible weight of the cocktail tray, the concerned shouts of my boss fading into nothingness as the floor rushed up to meet me. Waking up in a sterile hospital room, hooked to N4, the doctor's diagnosis a stark label for my struggle, exhaustion and malnutrition. "It wasn't a big deal," I mumbled, the ingrained habit of downplaying my needs kicking in. "Not a big deal?" My father's voice was incredulous. "You collapsed from starvation, and your mother knew you had no money, and she did nothing?" He turned back to her, a storm gathering in his eyes. "Let me understand this. You've been withholding Logan's allowance, letting him work himself to the point of physical collapse, while secretly sending extra money to Olivia for what? Shopping sprees in Paris?" "It's not like that, Robert," she protested, her composure finally cracking. Olivia has potential. She needs to maintain a certain image in that world. You don't understand the fashion industry. And Logan doesn't have potential? The pain in my dad's voice was palpable. He's studying medicine at one of the most competitive schools in the country. He's following in my footsteps. That's exactly it. She shot back, the truth she'd held for years finally exploding out of her. He's exactly like you. Pragmatic, strong, resilient. He'll be fine. He doesn't need my help. Olivia is special. She's delicate. She needs my support. The room fell silent again. Her words, so baldly stated, were like a surgeon's scalpel, precisely severing the last fragile threads of my denial. All those childhood memories came flooding back, not as isolated incidents, but as pieces of a clear, cruel pattern. The straight A's I brought home that were met with a perfunctory, "That's what we expect," while Olivia's mediocre report card was celebrated with ice cream. The summer science camp I was denied for being too expensive. The same summer Olivia was sent to a lavish art program in Italy. I had always sensed the imbalance, felt the chill of being the shadow in my sister's son, but I had never let myself believe it was so deliberate, so deeply rooted in my mother's heart. "How much, Paisley?" My dad's voice was dangerously quiet. "How much have you been giving her?" She hesitated, wringing her napkin. $3,000 a month for living expenses. And maybe a little extra sometimes. How? Extra? I don't know, maybe another $2,000 or $3,000 some months. For networking events, proper clothes, accessories. My dad's face was ashen. "So, you've been diverting $5,000 or $6,000 a month to Olivia, while your son has been starving himself and working until he collapsed. When you put it that way, it sounds bad," she said, defensively. "It is bad." I cried out, unable to stay silent. "It's more than bad. Do you know what I've been living on? What I've been doing? I've been tutoring high school kids until my brain is fuzzy, I've been hauling equipment for events until my back aches, and I've been serving drinks until 2 a.m. in a sticky-floored bar to a bunch of rowdy strangers. I come home so tired I can't even study, and I'm falling behind in my classes that are supposed to be my entire future. And all the while, Olivia is posting pictures of her new Chanel bag, thanking you for always knowing what she needs." My mom stared at me aghast. "The Chanel bag, how did you?" "I called her." I said, the desperation of that phone call rushing back. "I called her because a friend pointed out that it didn't make sense for you to have no money if she was living abroad. She told me everything. How you transfer her money whenever she needs something special. She said, and I quote, 'Mom always knows exactly what I need.'" The rest of the lunch was a torturous, silent affair. I pushed the food around my plate, my appetite gone, the luxurious meal now tasting like ash. My mother occasionally dabbed at her eyes, the picture of wounded grace, while my dad sat in rigid, furious silence, a muscle twitching in his clenched jaw. I retreated to my old bedroom after, the familiar blue walls and sports posters feeling like artifacts from another boy's life. The muffled sounds of their argument drifted up from downstairs, my father's deep, angry baritone, my mother's pleading, defensive replies. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, letting the full weight of the betrayal crush me. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the years of being told, in a million subtle ways, that I was less. That my needs were an inconvenience, my achievements an expectation, and my struggles a lesson I needed to learn alone. Later that evening, a soft knock came at my door. My dad entered, his shoulders slumped, the anger replaced by a profound, weary sadness. He sat on the edge of my bed, the way he used to when I was sick as a child. "Logan," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't have the words to tell you how sorry I am. I failed you. I was so buried in my work, so trusting of your mother to handle things fairly. I had no idea." "It's not your fault, Dad," I said, the automatic response feeling hollow. "It is, though," he insisted, his eyes meeting mine, full of a raw regret I'd never seen in him before. "It is my job to see you, to protect you. And I was blind." He took a deep, shuddering breath. "I've already called Olivia. I told her the gravy train has derailed. Her allowance is being reduced to $1,000 a month, effective immediately. The same amount you'll be receiving from now on, directly from me. Before I could process that, he continued, his voice dropping. And there's more. Something worse. He ran a hand through his graying hair. We have a family trust, meant to be split equally between you and Olivia when you turn 25. Your mother, she's been siphoning money from it. She set up a separate account in Olivia's name. She's diverted about $300,000 so far. The number was so large it felt abstract, yet its meaning was brutally concrete. It wasn't just my present she'd stolen, it was my future. A nest egg that represented security, a down payment on a home, a cushion to start my life. I've frozen it, Dad said firmly, seeing the shock on my face. I've already contacted our lawyer to start the process of returning every cent to the family trust. It's going to be a legal mess, but it's the right thing to do. He looked at me, his eyes pleading for an understanding I wasn't sure I could yet give. When I think of you collapsing, while I thought you were fine, I will never forgive myself for that. That night my phone rang. It was Olivia, and she was incandescent with rage. What the hell did you say to Dad? She demanded, her voice shrill. The truth, I replied, my own anger a cold, hard stone in my chest. I told him I've been working 3 jobs and living on ramen while you were getting $5,000 a month for Dior dresses. It's different, she shrieked. I need that money. You have no idea the pressure I'm under to look a certain way. Do you have any idea what it's like to wake up in a hospital because your body just shut down? I asked, my voice quiet but steady. Do you, Olivia? While you were at a rooftop party in your new dress, I was in an ambulance. There was a long, dead silence on the other end of the line. Is that really what happened? Yes. That's really what happened. Another pause, shorter this time. Well, what am I supposed to do now? Dad says $1,000 a month. I can't live on that in Paris. Welcome to the real world, I said, a grim sense of satisfaction washing over me. Get a job. Like I did. She hung up on me. The following morning, the air in the house was thick enough to choke on. Over a breakfast no one touched, my dad laid out the new reality. I'm taking complete control of the finances, he stated, his tone brooking no argument. And your mother and I, we have serious problems. We're going to try counseling, but Logan, I need to be honest with you. The trust is broken. I'm not sure if it can be repaired. My mother looked up, her eyes blazing with a fresh wave of defiance. You're blaming me for everything? For wanting our daughter to succeed? I'm blaming you for lying, for stealing from our son, and for nearly bankrupting us to fund a fantasy, he replied, his voice chillingly even. I flew back to New York that afternoon, my mind reeling. My dad had already transferred $5,000 into my account, back pay for the stolen allowance, with a promise of a steady $1,000 every month from then on. Focus on your studies, he told me at the airport, pulling me into a tight, uncharacteristic hug. That's your priority now. Just be a student. The first thing I did in my cramped apartment was not unpack. I went to the grocery store. I walked through the aisles like a man in a dream, filling my cart with real food, fresh spinach, chicken breasts, strawberries, eggs, a loaf of crusty bread. I cooked myself a simple meal of grilled chicken and salad, and as I sat at my small table, eating slowly and savoring every bite, I felt a profound shift. This simple, nourishing act felt more luxurious than any 5-star meal. It was the taste of freedom, of being seen, of having my basic humanity acknowledged. The change in my life was immediate and profound. I quit the event staffing job and cut my bar shifts back to weekends only. I kept the tutoring because I genuinely enjoyed it. Suddenly I had time. Time to sleep 8 hours a night. Time to actually read the assigned chapters, not just skim them in exhaustion. Time to go to the library, to form study groups, to join the pre-med society. My grades, which had been teetering on the brink, began a steady, confident climb. The constant, gnawing anxiety in my gut began to recede, replaced by a flicker of the passion for medicine that had brought me to New York in the first place. Over the next few months, I watched my family reconfigure itself from a distance, like continents shifting after a seismic event. My dad moved out of the family home and into an apartment. His weekly calls became a ritual, filled with actual conversation about my classes, his work, our shared interests. We were building a relationship we'd never had the space for before. Olivia's transformation was the most shocking. After a month of furious calls and threats to drop out, a strange thing happened. She got a job. A part-time position at a small, chic boutique in Paris. In our now regular, albeit stilted video calls, she began to sound less like a pampered princess and more like a person. "It's actually not terrible," she admitted one night, a hint of pride in her voice. "My boss is teaching me about margins and inventory. It's real." My mother fought the changes tooth and nail. She continued to try and send Olivia secret money, and when my dad discovered it, it was the final, irrevocable breach. He filed for divorce. The proceedings were brutal, but the evidence of her financial misconduct, the diverted trust funds, the drained joint accounts, was overwhelming. The settlement was not kind to her. During this time, I focused on rebuilding myself. The weight returned to my frame, the color to my face. The dark circles under my eyes faded. I was no longer just surviving, I was beginning to thrive. "I never realized how much it affected you," Olivia said during one of our calls, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "I guess I just liked being the special one. It felt normal. And I got used to being the one who didn't need anything," I replied. "It was the only role available." "I'm sorry, Logan. We were both kids lived. It wasn't our job to figure it out." A year later, the dust had begun to settle. I was near the top of my class, no longer struggling to keep up but leading study sessions. Dad had settled into his new life, and he seemed lighter, happier. Olivia had not only kept her job but was using her practical experience to inform her designs. "My professor says my new collection shows a pragmatic elegance," she told me, laughing. "Who knew being broke could be so inspiring?" My mother had the hardest road. The divorce forced her to sell the family home and downsize to a small condo. She got a job, a real one, as a sales associate at a department store. She hated it, complained about it constantly, but I think the structure, the necessity, was a reality she could no longer avoid. Our relationship was strained, a delicate, tentative thing. But for the first time, it felt honest. Last week, Olivia video called me, her face glowing with excitement. She showed me sketches for her first independent collection, clean, minimalist lines, cleverly constructed from beautiful but affordable fabrics. "I never would have learned to source materials like this if I'd had an unlimited budget," she said, her voice full of a genuine pride I'd never heard before. "You're really talented, Olivia," I said, and I meant it. She smiled, a real warm smile. "Thanks. And you're going to be an amazing doctor, Logan." She paused, her expression turning thoughtful. "Are you going to Dad's for Christmas?" "Yeah." "You?" "Yeah." "I was thinking we could go see Mom together. Just for an hour. She's lonely." I took a deep breath. The thought was complicated, laden with old hurts. But she was still our mother. "Okay," I agreed. "We'll go together." 3 years have now passed since that devastating dinner. I'm in my 4th year of medical school, prepping for residency interviews, my future no longer a question mark but a bright, clear path. Last month, I sat in the audience, beaming with pride, as my sister launched her first official collection in a small Parisian gallery. My dad was there too, front row, his arm around Catherine, the kind-hearted pediatric nurse he'd met and married a year ago. Seeing him so openly proud of Olivia, building a relationship with her that wasn't filtered through my mother's favoritism, was a healing balm for us all. And Mom? The journey continues. Therapy has helped her confront the ghosts of her own childhood that fueled her behavior. Last year, on my birthday, she called. "I'm proud of you, Logan," she said, her voice cracking. "I was so wrong. About everything." The words were a long-awaited absolution. It doesn't erase the past, but it opens a door to a different future. This Christmas, we'll all be together under one roof. Dad, Catherine, Olivia, me, and yes, Mom. It won't be a perfect, storybook holiday. There will be awkward silences, old wounds that twinge in the cold, and a history that can never be erased. But it will be real. It will be honest. Sometimes, I still think about that collapse in the bar. The moment my body gave out, the point of absolute failure. I used to see it as a moment of weakness, a humiliation. Now, I see it differently. It was a rupture, a violent, necessary breaking point. The old, rotten structure of our family had to fall so something new, something stronger and truer, could be built in its place. It was the painful, catalytic event that forced us all to finally tell the truth, to see each other clearly, and to learn, however painfully, how to love each other not for who we were supposed to be, but for who we are.